by. We're about to begin. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the UFC Fight Night Silva versus Bisping conference call. Today's conference is being recorded. If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your touch-tone phone. Please make sure your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. At this time, I'd like to turn the conference over to Mr. Matt Ragnanovich. Please go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this call. While 2015 represented one of the biggest years in UFC history, 2016 has a chance to be even bigger, and the participants today are evidence of that. Fighting at the sold-out O2 Arena on February 27th in London, England, will be two icons of the sport. First, we have the former middleweight champion of the world and arguably the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, Anderson Silva. And also joining us, we have one of the best ever, Lace Them Up from the UK, and a true pioneer of the sport from that region, and still an elite middleweight, ranked number 7 in the world, Michael Bisping. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys, the media, to begin the call with questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1, and please make sure your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. We'll go first to Daniel Flynn with Combate. I'm sorry, we'll go first to Ana Hissa with Combate.
Oh, hi. My question is for Anderson. I'm going to make it in Portuguese. Anderson, eu queria saber como é que está essa preparação, essa expectativa para voltar ao octógono. Eu vi que você vem postando bastante coisa nas suas redes sociais, inclusive que você mandou uma mensagem falando que o cinturão vai voltar. Você saber o quanto isso é uma motivação para você.
Pô, eu estou bastante motivado, eu estou feliz com tudo que está acontecendo, né? Os últimos 2 anos e meio, a minha carreira passou por uma grande tribulação, acho que é normal, mas eu tô bastante motivado e tô feliz com tudo que está acontecendo e espero poder ter uma nova oportunidade de lutar pelo cinto e levar de volta ele para o Brasil.
Derek?
And Derek has disconnected. Just one moment, and we'll get him reconnected.
Okay. Well, I'll translate meanwhile until he gets back. Anderson said he's very motivated to come back. He's very, very motivated, very focused, and over the past 2 years, his career he had some bumps in the roads and some adversities to overcome, but he's very motivated, very focused on coming back and bringing this belt back to Brazil.
Ok. Obrigada, Anderson.
De nada.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take our next question from Simon Head with The Sun.
Hi guys, thanks very much for your time on this call. Question from Michael. Mike, this is a fight you've been chasing for a long time, from way back when Anderson was the UFC middleweight champion. Now this fight's finally going to happen, and you're going to get in the octagon with Anderson Silva. Tell us just what this fight means for you and for your career as a whole.
Hey Simon, how you doing? Well, for me, obviously, Anderson he's a legend of the sport, and he was a long-time middleweight champion, and this is a guy that I wanted to fight for a long time. Of course, I wanted to fight him when he was the champion, but this really, for me, is the biggest fight outside of a world title fight right now. Anderson is still a massive name; he's still a huge draw, and I have a lot of respect for him as a fighter. I always wanted to test myself against him. I knew I could beat him. For me, I'm very, very excited about this fight. When Dana called me and said the opponent had changed from Gegard to Anderson, I was thrilled. I always wanted to show the world that I could beat Anderson, and I know I can, and I get to do that in February.
Tell us a bit more about that call and actually how you found out about getting this fight, because obviously, as you say, you were going to fight Gegard. We weren't sure whether that was going to be the co-main or the main event, and then obviously the news got announced on Christmas Eve. I think it was about 6 o'clock UK time, Christmas Eve. Great Christmas present for the UK fans. I mean, how was it for you?
Yeah, no, it really is. I know some of the UK fans have wanted some of the bigger names on it, if you will, and Anderson Silva is certainly one of the biggest names in the sport. So, and it's a great matchup. You know, I mean, I've been spearheading the UK drive for a long time, if you will. So me against Anderson is a fantastic matchup at the sold-out O2 Arena. So, as I said, I'm very, very excited about it. How did I get the fight? Dana just called and, said there'd been some discussions internally at the UFC, and they decided to jig things around and, do I want to fight Anderson? Of course, I didn't even hesitate. I said yes immediately, and that was that, all said and done, So, yeah, I'm a happy man.
Great stuff. And just one more for Anderson, if I may. Anderson, Michael's obviously someone who's probably been on your radar for a while. He's been a perennial contender in the UFC's middleweight division. Give us your take on Michael as a fighter in the UFC's middleweight division. What's your assessment of him as a fighter?
Anderson, o Michael Bisping já lutou nessa categoria há muito tempo, é um dos caras top nessa categoria. E como você está sentindo lutando contra ele?
Estou muito feliz, estou feliz de poder voltar a lutar na Inglaterra, né? Eu lutei muito tempo, durante 4 anos eu lutei na Inglaterra, num evento. E agora está voltando, está na Inglaterra. Claro que eu gostaria que a minha volta fosse no Brasil, mas estar lutando na Inglaterra está sendo bastante empolgante para mim. Eu estou bastante feliz com essa oportunidade. E lutar com o Bisping era uma coisa que já era para ter acontecido, né? E eu acho que tanto ele quanto eu vamos ter a oportunidade de ganhar uma chance de lutar pelo cinturão. Eu acho que vai ser uma grande luta, um grande espetáculo para todo o público em geral na Inglaterra, e no Brasil e no mundo.
Yeah, I'm very happy, very motivated to come back and fight in England. I fought in England for a part of my career. I haven't fought there in a long time. I had great memories fighting in England. The English fans are great. I'm very happy to come back. Ideally, I would have loved to have this fight in Brazil. I really wanted to fight I wanted to come back fighting in Brazil in front of my Brazilian fans, but fighting in England is going to be great, especially against a guy like Michael Bisping. I feel like this fight probably should have happened, sometime before, but now it's finally happening. I think it's a great opportunity for myself and Michael Bisping to put on a great performance for everyone around the world, England, Brazil, and everyone around the world.
Great stuff. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Simon.
And we'll take our next question from Adriano Albuquerque of Globo.com.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. My questions are for Anderson Silva, and I'll do it in Portuguese. Anderson, você já está com 40 anos, né, tem uma carreira consolidada aí no UFC, foi recordes no UFC que dificilmente vão ser superados. Os seus filhos, já, depois daquela lesão horrível, os seus filhos pediram para você parar. Eu queria te perguntar, por que você vai continuar lutando? Por que o Anderson Silva continua como lutador de MMA?
The question was...
Primeiro, porque é uma coisa que eu amo fazer, é o que eu sou lutador, e é isso que me motiva todos os dias a levantar e continuar a minha vida particular com a minha família, tá todo dia treinando, tá todo dia lutando e batalhando. E lutar é uma coisa que eu faço bem, e faço muito bem, por sinal, e eu amo fazer isso. E a motivação vem de dentro, né, cara? É uma coisa que está dentro de mim há muitos anos, e é uma coisa que me move, me mantém vivo, lutar. Então, enquanto eu tiver vontade, e tiver condições para isso, e meu corpo deixar, e minha mente deixar, eu vou continuar fazendo. Eu estou bem, estou saudável, graças a Deus, estou bem treinado, estou feliz com tudo que está acontecendo na minha vida profissional e pessoal. E é isso que me motiva, né? Depois da minha última luta, eu conversei com a minha família, com os meus filhos, eles entenderam os pontos, né? E estão me apoiando. Então isso é o mais importante para mim agora, o apoio deles e treinar e tentar buscar o cinto de volta e levar ele de volta para o Brasil.
The question was, after everything you've went through, after the injury and everything that you're 40 years old, and your kids wanted you to fight, what's motivating you to still keep fighting? And his answer is that he's a martial artist. He trains martial arts every day. It's a part of his life. He feels that fighting is something that he's done very well, and he still does very well. He's well trained. He's motivated, and motivation comes from the inside, and as long as he's motivated and excited to keep fighting, he's going to keep doing it as long as his body will let him do that. And basically, he's well trained now. He feels great. He's motivated. After his last fight, he had a discussion with his family, explained to his kids what he's doing, why he's doing it, and his kids are completely supporting him, and with his family support and his motivation, he's here, and he's going to fight for as long as his body and his motivation last.
Após a sua última luta, Anderson, né, você se ajoelhou no octógono, se emocionou bastante nas entrevistas pós-luta, você se emocionou bastante, né, claro, devido a toda a situação que você encarou, né, de se recuperar da lesão na perna. E ali muita gente teve a impressão de que seria a sua última luta, de que você estaria se despedindo do MMA. Eu te pergunto, se não tivesse acontecido toda essa polêmica do doping, né, do que foi, do julgamento, do que as pessoas falaram de você, você teria continuado lutando assim mesmo ou você teria parado?
Sim, eu acho que eu teria a questão de parar é uma coisa muito pessoal, né? E assim, foi um pedido do meu filho, Calil, mas depois da luta eu conversei, depois que eu voltei para casa, eu conversei com todos, conversei com ele, e é uma coisa que eu sempre falo, né, para eles, assim, né, se você tem um desejo, um sonho, corre atrás, vai atrás, cara, e vai até o final até você conquistar, né, se você ama alguma coisa profissionalmente, que você gosta de fazer, vai atrás, vai até o final, entendeu? Não importa o que as pessoas vão falar, não importa o que vai acontecer, vai até o final, entendeu? Se você não conseguir, pelo menos você não vai ficar frustrado de não ter tentado, né? Pelo menos você sabe que você tentou até as suas últimas forças. E é isso que eu vou fazer, é isso que eu estou fazendo.
The question was, after your last fight, you kneeled down after the fight and you were very emotional. It almost seemed like as if you were going to retire. And then all the controversy came up with the testing and all that stuff. Would you, if that testing when it came up positive and all these other controversies would have came up, would you have retired? And his answer was that, retirement and something like that is something very personal. But no, I would have continued doing what I love. I've always told my kids that if you have a dream, you have to follow it, and you have to, give it your all. Because if you don't, then you're going to be frustrated for the rest of your life that you didn't try. So that's what I'm doing. Is I have a dream that I'm going after, and that's to get that belt back. And I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try my best to go back there and get it done.
I have one last question for Michael. Michael, in the press release that the UFC sent about this fight, it said it had a quote that you gave saying that you knew about people that had turned down the fight against Anderson. Could you elaborate on that? Did you hear anybody turn that down? Who turned that down?
Vitor Belfort turned the fight down. There you go.
Okay, thanks.
And I just want to say something. Yeah, we're all chasing a dream, and all fighters have a dream of being the champion. And you got to do it through hard work, determination. The fact of the matter is Anderson Silva tested positive for not one, not two, but 3 banned substances inside his body. And whilst I respect him as a fighter, I've got to say I lost a lot of respect for him for that. And this fight represents me beating all of these people that want to cheat the system. I have never taken a performance-enhancing drug in my life, and anybody that does should be ashamed. And to call yourself a martial artist, but to take performance-enhancing drugs is the biggest contradiction you could ever make. And to be honest, he should be ashamed of himself. And I feel that this should be talked about more. I want to be tested throughout this camp. Come and take my blood right now. You can get me to pee in a cup every day of this fight camp. And I hope that happens, and I hope Anderson is tested many times, because he should be tested many times, because he failed the test not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And once again, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your touchtone phone. That's star 1 for any questions. And we'll go next to Damon Martin with Fox Sports.
Hi, guys. First question is for Michael. Michael, to that point, I know when we talked back in September, you had said that, the fight with Anderson, when it was rumored, you were excited, you were all for it, and a couple of months later, with everything that happened with the suspension and everything, you kind of waned a little bit and said, I wasn't as interested. I mean, where was your mindset? Obviously you accepted right away, but was there a slight hesitation because of the whole drug testing thing that happened?
Hey, what's up, Devin? So, initially, a while ago, I did say to myself, I said, right, I'm sick of this. I'm over it. I'm over fighting all these people that have an unfair advantage in the recovery and, in their training. I really am sick of it, and I've fallen foul to it several times now, with Vito, with Chael, with Dan Henderson, and the list goes on. So I thought, if anybody has a history with performance-enhancing drugs, then I'm not going to fight them. There's plenty of other people. But then when I started hearing the rumours about the Anderson Silva fight, I started to think about it. Would I take it or wouldn't I? And, I've got to say, regardless of what happened, he's still Anderson Silva, and it is a bucket list fight. It is certainly somebody that I always wanted to face. So for that reason, I'm willing to forego that, and we will meet in February.
Do you believe in your head, with everything that's been going on with the USADA testing, do you believe that we are seeing a cleaner sport now than ever before, or do you feel like there's still some time to see if it's really working?
Well, when you look at a lot of the fighters now, you are seeing a difference in physiques. That goes without saying. You can certainly see a difference. We are seeing people test positive, but it's human nature. And if these people are willing to cheat in the first place, they're going to try to continue to cheat. They're going to try to continue to manipulate the system. At the end of the day, if you take performance-enhancing drugs, you're a coward. And just because they're bringing in advanced testing doesn't change the fact you're still going to be a coward, and you're still going to try and cheat the system. So, yeah, people are still going to do it.
And do you, obviously, taking as much as you can away from the whole PED conversation, when you look at Anderson, from the Nick Diaz fight to the Weidman fights, and obviously even going back to maybe Stephan Bonner, however far back you want to go, where do you feel like Anderson is right now? Do you feel like he is as good as he always was? Do you feel like age has caught up to him? Where do you feel like he's at as you go into this fight?
Well, Anderson has always done some fantastic things. He really has captured the imagination with some of his, striking techniques and just his fights in general. And I was, an absolute massive fan. But really, if you break it down and go through his career, a lot of the fighters, they weren't all that. Patrick Cote, Stephan Bonner, some of these wins weren't necessarily the best wins ever. He fights Chris Weidman, he lost twice. Against Nick Diaz, I thought he looked very beatable. So, yes, of course, he had some moments in the Diaz fight where he looked explosive and he looked fast, he looked sharp and all these things. But when I watch that fight, I see a very beatable fighter. So I don't necessarily see that he has slowed down or anything like that. I always thought I could beat him. I always looked at Anderson and thought I could beat him. So now I'm just happy I get to prove that.
And a question for Anderson. Anderson, everything that you've had to go through in the last year, you are considered, the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. But do you feel like there is a certain, level of redemption to get in a fight like this, going on with the drug testing and everything, to kind of, redeem your legacy a little bit after what happened with the Diaz fight?
Anderson, com toda essa polêmica que aconteceu durante esse último tempo, tu acha que essa volta você está super motivado para provar para o mundo que você ainda está aqui e você está aqui para mostrar que você ainda é um dos melhores do mundo?
Bom, primeiro eu não tenho que provar nada para absolutamente ninguém, né? Nem para o Bisping, nem para ninguém, a não ser para mim mesmo, né? Eu estou motivado porque é uma coisa que eu faço há muito tempo, não tem muito segredo, né? Subir ali e lutar. Eu faço isso desde meus 8 anos de idade. Então, a minha motivação é poder fazer isso feliz, é estar feliz com o que eu vou estar fazendo. Eu estou pronto para ser testado a qualquer momento. Não sou perfeito, não sou nenhum santo, né? Eu realmente cometi uma falha de ter tomado uma substância que estava contaminada. Jamais eu teria colocado em exposição a minha vida pessoal para esclarecer os fatos da forma que eu esclareci, se eu realmente fosse culpado e tivesse tomado qualquer tipo de anabolizante. Não foi o caso, não foi isso que eu tomei, por isso que eu queria ter esclarecido tudo. E deu toda aquela polêmica, meu advogado e o cara que estavam, que testou os suplementos que eu tomei, pareciam dois patetas e não conseguiram provar a verdade. Era isso que eu gostaria, só isso. A minha punição está acabando, cometi um erro, estou pagando pelo erro e estou pronto para voltar a lutar. Estou feliz com tudo isso.
Yeah, I'm not here. I don't feel that I have to prove anything to anyone as far as what I've done in fighting. I've been doing this since I was a kid, 8 years old. I've been training, so I don't feel I have anything to any sort of redemption. I feel that I'm coming back because I'm very motivated. I'm motivated to follow my dream. And as far as I'm ready to be tested anytime. You guys can test me as much as you guys would like. I committed an error. I'm definitely not a saint. I committed an error. I took a substance that was contaminated, and unfortunately, the people that were representing me, the attorney, the specialist, they looked like clowns up there, and they weren't able to prove what really happened. Once again, for me to expose things that were going on in my personal life, it was a difficult thing to do, and that's why I exposed it, to prove my innocence. But now I'm paying for what I've done, and I'm motivated to go back in there and put this all behind me.
And last question for you, Anderson. Before the Diaz fight, you were, I wouldn't say, you didn't seem as focused on the title. You were more focused on just coming back and getting healthy. But now you are talking about the title again. I'm just kind of curious, did something change? I mean, was it Luke Rockhold beating Weidman? Was it just something that happened in your own mind to where you are thinking about, winning that title again?
Anderson, antes da luta do Nick Diaz, você estava mais focado na tua volta, não falando muito do cinturão. Agora você está falando que você gostaria de voltar e ter o cinturão de volta com você. O que mudou? Ou teve uma série de coisas que aconteceu que mudou teu pensamento?
Algumas coisas aconteceram e eu mudei meu pensamento, sim. E eu vou lutar e vou provar que eu posso e eu vou levar esse cinturão de volta para o Brasil. É só uma questão de oportunidade, só isso. Eu só preciso de uma chance.
Yes, definitely some things have definitely changed, and definitely I've had a change of when I looked at it, I definitely changed my mind, and I'm very motivated to come back and prove that I'm still one of the best and that I'm going to bring this belt back to Brazil. It's just a matter of getting the opportunity to do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Anderson. Thank you.
Well, thank you, buddy.
And we'll go next to Anaísa with Combate.
Anderson, a gente está falando bastante dessa questão do cinturão. Quanto você acha realmente que você está próximo de uma nova disputa de cinturão?
Eu não sei. Eu estou me preparando há muito tempo. Eu acho que desde que eu nasci, né, para desafios como esses que estão vindo. E eu gosto de desafios, né? Eu gosto de provar para as pessoas que tem coisas que não são impossíveis, né? Para algumas podem até ser, mas para mim só é impossível depois que eu tentar muito e não conseguir. Então não é isso. Eu vou esperar a minha oportunidade, vou lutar com quem tiver que lutar, apesar de muitas pessoas acharem que é uma coisa de maluco, uma coisa de louco, mas eu gosto disso, eu gosto do desafio, eu gosto dessa coisa de desafio. E principalmente porque falaram que eu não ia conseguir, então está sendo um desafio maior por conta disso. Então eu vou até o final, até eu conseguir.
The question was, when do you feel, if you win this fight, when do you feel that when will you fight for the title? And his answer was that's not a decision he's here to make. He's prepared to fight whoever the UFC puts in front of him, but his big motivation is that a lot of people have counted him out, and he believes, and he's always believed that that he can do things that people think are impossible. A lot of people think it's crazy. A lot of people think that it's impossible. So with all those people thinking that, that's what's motivating him to prove them wrong and follow his dream.
Mais uma pergunta. A gente acabou de ver o Bisping, desde que a luta foi marcada, ele foi respeitoso, mas depois ele já foi no Twitter, tocou nessa questão do doping para dar uma provocada. A gente sabe que ele tem esse estilo meio falastrão. O quanto isso te motiva, o quanto isso mexe com você, e qual a resposta que você tem a dar para o que ele acabou de falar aqui nessa conferência sobre isso ser uma guerra, inclusive, contra o sistema, contra lutadores que acreditam que possam driblar o sistema?
Bom, primeira coisa é exatamente o que eu falei, né? Eu nunca precisei usar nenhum tipo de substância ilegal, anabolizante ou coisa parecida, e cometi um erro, né? Que acho que todo mundo está sensitivo a esse erro, né? Pode acontecer, né? Eu nunca testei positivo. Eu fui questionado por um dos comissários, eu achei até meio arrogante e irônico da parte dele, quando ele virou para mim e perguntou se eu já tinha sido testado outras vezes, teria sido feito testes em mim a surpresa. Eu falei que não, porque eu nunca tive problema com doping, eu nunca usei nenhum tipo de substância ilegal, até porque meu corpo nunca mudou. Desde que eu comecei a lutar até o atual momento, meu corpo nunca mudou, né? Eu realmente queria só ter esclarecido as coisas, né? Realmente eu usei um produto que estava contaminado e paguei pelo meu erro, e agora página virada na minha vida isso. Algumas pessoas vão continuar falando sobre isso, mas eu não me importo, não estou nem aí, já passou, e algumas coisas vão ser resolvidas lá dentro, né? Como sempre foram, assim. Eu não gosto muito de falar, não gosto muito de ficar promovendo com falação. Eu gosto de subir lá e fazer meu trabalho. É o que eu sei fazer e é o que eu vou fazer. Eu vou subir lá, lutar, e o resultado é o que todo mundo sempre vê, né? Ou ganha ou perde. E é isso que eu vou lá fazer.
The question is that, when this fight was announced, Michael Bisping was very respectful at first, then he came back and kind of put some things on Twitter about your positive test results. And his answer was that, once again, he if you look at his body, if you look at Anderson's body, he's never changed. He's always had the same build, the same thing. Nothing's ever changed in his body. He's never needed to take any sort of illegal substance. What he did is he took a substance, he took another product that was contaminated, and that's why it came up. And when the commission asked him, "Have you ever been tested before?" No, he never was tested before. He's never had a problem. He's never had a problem with taking any sort of illegal or banned substances, and he committed an error. He took a substance that was contaminated, and now he's paid the price. So now he wants to turn this page in his life and move on to the next. And he's never been one to really talk or talk trash to build up a fight. He likes to prove what he can do inside the octagon. And at the end of the day, you could say what you want, but when the octagon door closes, there's going to be them two in there to figure it out. He may win, he may lose, but he feels very good, and he's ready to go.
E para terminar, a gente viu nas redes sociais o encontro que você teve com o John Jones em Nova York. Queria que você comentasse um pouco, se vocês trocaram uma ideia, o que aconteceu ali.
Grandes tempestades estão chegando, só isso que eu posso dizer para vocês. Grandes tempestades estão chegando, o pessoal tem que se preparar aí.
The question was, is I saw on social media that you met up with John Jones in New York, and you guys kind of talked about some things, what was said. And Anderson says, all I can tell everyone is that there's some big storms coming ahead, some big storms.
Ok, obrigada. De nada.
And we'll take our next question from Daniel Castro with Fuller de Sao Paulo.
Anderson, você acredita que depois que você perdeu o título e uma série de sequências de derrotas de outros brasileiros que também tinham título, fez com que o UFC perdesse um pouco da popularidade que alcançou no Brasil?
Eu acredito que não por conta de eu ter perdido o título, mas eu acho que o fato do acidente, isso acabou atrapalhando um pouco, né, a popularidade do esporte no Brasil. Mas é uma coisa que vai levar um tempo para as pessoas voltarem a se sentirem motivadas de novo a assistir. E a gente tem grandes atletas no Brasil, né? A gente tem grandes nomes no Brasil, Zé Aldo, Arlen, Jacaré, Rafael Feijão e muitos outros lutadores que têm esse potencial para fazer com que as pessoas tenham essa vontade de assistir nosso esporte no Brasil de novo, né? Eu acho que é uma questão de tempo, né? Uma questão de tempo, e daqui a pouco a motivação das pessoas volta e tudo volta ao normal.
The question was that after your loss, after you losing the belt and various Brazilian champions losing the belt, how do you think that affected the popularity of the sport in Brazil? And his answer is not only just my loss, but sometimes things like that in the sport happens. But Brazil is still one of the biggest countries of producing top talent. Even though I don't have the title, but we still have some great fighters from Brazil, like Jose Aldo, Rafael Feijão, Jacaré. So many top Brazilian fighters still in the world. So I think it's just a matter of time, and it's just going through a cycle, but it's going to take some time to build back the popularity that it once was. But I believe we're on the right track, and we'll get there soon.
Ok, obrigado.
And we'll take our next question from Neil McGrath with TalkingBrawlsMMA.com.
How are you getting on, guys? I appreciate the time today for the
out of my face, how I'm getting on. Nice to hear some English. Go ahead.
Hey, Michael. Yeah, just one for you. Is this the best possible time for you to get Anderson Silva? Obviously, with the 2-year layoff, in between fights with Nick Diaz.
Yeah, well, listen, you can't deny the fact that he hasn't been very active lately. And yeah, that does affect people's performance, I believe. Not always, but it can do. So I guess you could say that, but still, if you look at him in the Diaz fight, he was still effective. His striking still looked crisp. It looked sharp. I guess you could say that, but I'm still expecting a very tough fight.
What have you got to do to beat Anderson Silva in this fight?
Well, I'm just going to utilize a lot of movement, fight my fight, and take it to him. A lot of people, when they fought Anderson, they were scared of him. They were beaten mentally before the fight even started. And you can see that in their performances. In the Diaz fight, Diaz wasn't scared of him at all. And you can see that it threw Anderson off. It certainly did affect him. So, and you'll see the same in this. I'm going to give him the respect he deserves. But I'm not going to be shy. I'm not going to cower away from this guy. I'm signing on this, this contract to fight this guy, to beat him, to knock him out, to end his career. So I'm going to give him zero respect once that cage door shuts. Just going to fight my fight.
Michael, you've spoken out about also, about the guys who've been tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. Do you feel as though you need to keep your cool and your mind in check ahead of this fight as well, because you've been vocal and quite angry about it in the past?
Yeah, definitely. It is something that I am quite emotional about, because it blows my mind. And just then before, Anderson said something about trash talk and this and that, because I made a reference to the Viagra on social media. And to be quite frank, I'm blown away by his arrogance. How on earth do you expect me not to mention that in your last fight you tested positive for 3 gram substances? You expect me to not mention that? How on earth? That is very, very relevant. So of course I want him to be tested, and you can test me. But the fact that he wants me to not mention that, to brush that under the carpet, to be quite frank, I'm blown away by his arrogance.
And just one for Anderson. Anderson, how would you respond to that? What goes on in your mind when you hear guys like Michael speak out about your positive test?
Anderson, o Michael Bisping falou que ele está surpreso pouco com a tua arrogância e esperando que ele não ia falar nada do teu teste positivo, e como você tem para responder ele desses detalhes? Que resposta?
Eu não tenho nada para falar sobre isso, né? A gente fez o que tinha que fazer para provar que eu não usei nenhum tipo de anabolizante e que realmente eu não sabia que o medicamento que eu estava tomando estava contaminado. E não adianta, algumas pessoas vão ter as suas próprias opiniões e vão pensar o que elas quiserem, entendeu? Eu estou pronto para ser testado. Se quiserem me testar todos os dias, até o dia da luta, que isso seja feito, né? Infelizmente, vai ter pessoas que vão achar que eu sou trapaceiro, outras não, mas o que vale mesmo nessa história toda é a minha consciência, né? Eu pratico esse esporte há muito tempo, eu luto desde os meus 8 anos de idade, né? Literalmente, desde os meus 8 anos de idade. Então, seria muito desrespeito da minha parte mentir. Então, é uma coisa que eu nunca fiz, né? Porque eu sempre lutei, e lá dentro não existe mentira. Você pode estar usando qualquer tipo de substância ilegal ou não, mas lá dentro não existe mentira. Não é um esporte como outro qualquer que você pode mentir, né? É um esporte que não tem mentira. Ali dentro é realmente quem está bem preparado e quem está disposto a morrer ou matar por estar ali dentro. Então, é isso. Eu não tenho muito para falar, eu estou treinando bastante, como eu havia dito. Grandes tempestades vêm por aí.
Well, I don't have anything to really respond back to him. Basically, what it boils down to is that I took a supplement that was contaminated. Inside the octagon, there's no way to really lie in this sport. I've been fighting my whole career, never tested positive, and my conscience is clear. I've never purposely took any sort of banned substances. I made an error by taking a substance that was contaminated, but my conscience is clean. I know that I've never cheated, and at the end of the day, in this sport, whoever's best prepared is gonna show that night. So I really have nothing else to respond to Michael about this.
Guys, thanks so much for the time. Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you.
And we'll take our next question from Fabio Alexa with Universo Online.
Hello, good afternoon. I ask to Anderson in Portuguese. Anderson, queria perguntar para você, independentemente do resultado dessa luta, você ganhando, você tendo a oportunidade de lutar por um cinturão, ganhando esse cinturão, a questão do doping, as pessoas sempre vão falar bastante sobre isso. Isso é uma mancha que é irreversível na sua carreira, você acha?
Cara, assim, falar todo mundo pode falar, né? Até papagaio fala. Então, falar todo mundo vai falar. O que eu tenho que fazer é fazer meu trabalho, como eu sempre fiz. E é isso, não tem muito que ficar, né? Ai, meu Deus, posso me preocupar com o que todo mundo vai falar de mim, eu não posso sair de dentro de casa.
Yeah. The question is that, you winning this fight, and then you eventually getting back, fighting for the title and getting the title back, do you feel that this positive test result is always going to affect what you've done in your career? And he says that, people that want to talk can talk. I mean, even a parrot talks. So people are always going to have their thoughts on what they want to say. But if I was to be worried about what everyone has to say all the time, I'd be screwed. So no, I'm not worried about it, and I'm just focused on doing my job and going out there and performing.
E uma pergunta mais, aproveitando a oportunidade, no começo desse ano, você chegou a dar uma entrevista ao lado do presidente da Confederação Brasileira de Taekwondo, falando sobre seu desejo de participar dos Jogos Olímpicos, de fazer parte da seletiva, o que acabou não se concretizando. E o próprio presidente da Confederação criticou, outros atletas criticaram apenas como uma jogada de marketing e para tirar o foco da situação. Você realmente tinha o desejo de participar da seletiva de Taekwondo? E o que mudou na sua cabeça para você desistir dessa oportunidade de lutar a Olimpíada, Anderson?
Bom, era um desejo que eu tinha mesmo, né? É um esporte que de certa forma me deu a oportunidade de eu estar onde eu estou hoje, né? Mas por conta de muita falação e eu tava parado, né? E durante todo esse tempo eu queria lutar, porque eu gosto de desafios, gosto de competição, de competir. E o meu desejo era competir, eu ia fazer seletivas e como qualquer outro atleta, mas isso gerou uma polêmica, justamente por ter sido muito recente a coisa do doping, etc. Mas o que aconteceu é que estava tendo muita coisa envolvida que não cabe a mim falar agora, e eu achei que não era esse o meu propósito. Meu propósito era ajudar o esporte, era ajudar a divulgar cada vez mais esse esporte, que é um esporte que eu acho que é lindo e que deu emprego e dá emprego para muita gente e que me trouxe, de certa forma, até aqui. E aí, como o objetivo de outras pessoas não era o mesmo que o meu, eu desisti. Eu achei melhor deixar para lá, por conta de toda a falação e tal. E outra coisa, que eu também queria fazer porque era legal, era uma coisa que me motivava a fazer. Não estava fazendo para provar nada para ninguém. E algumas pessoas me entenderam nisso.
The question is that earlier this year, before all the testing and all that came up, there was some talks about Anderson potentially competing in Taekwondo, representing Brazil in the Olympics. And then all of a sudden it didn't work out, and what were the reasons? And Anderson said that the reason I wanted to do that is because it's a sport that started me off in martial arts, was Taekwondo. I think it's a great sport. I love to compete, and it would have been an honor to come back and be able to compete. I'm a competitor. I love the feeling of competition, and to be able to compete in the Olympics and help bring awareness to a sport like Taekwondo that is a beautiful sport and just doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. That's what happened. But unfortunately, for different circumstances, different people, and a lot of the politics involved in that situation, I wanted to go out there and do the, do the trials and do it just like everyone else. And because I'm a competitor, but unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
A última pergunta para o Anderson, apenas para concluir, você pretende estar envolvido de alguma maneira com a Olimpíada? Você pretende estar aqui no Brasil assistindo competições? Pretende assistir competição de taekwondo? Como você pretende acompanhar a Olimpíada, Anderson?
Eu não sei como vai estar todo o meu schedule de trabalho, etc. Mas se eu estiver livre e no Brasil, com certeza eu vou assistir as competições, sim.
The question was, what are your plans for the Olympics? Are you planning to be in Brazil, watching many different events and things like that? And Anderson says, well, it just depends on what my scheduling is like, but if I'm available and I have the time, I would love to come and watch some of the competitions in the Olympic Games this summer. Hello?
Wait, terminei. It's over. For me, it's over. I made a question. It's okay for me.
And we'll have time for 2 more questions. We'll take one of our final questions from Jim Edwards with themirror.co.uk.
Yeah, hi guys. Quick question for Michael. Michael, obviously you pulled out of your fight in November with an elbow injury. Can you just give us a bit more detail on how that was sustained and what the sort of surgery you went through for that and what the recovery's been like?
Yeah, to be honest, it was a minor thing really, but it was a thing that had to be taken care of. I'm not sure exactly how it happened. I was wrestling with Patrick Cummins, who fights at light heavyweight. You probably know who that is. And yeah, I don't know what I did. I tweaked my elbow or something, and then it was progressively getting worse. And I was getting treatment on my wrist actually, and I just happened to mention it to the doctor. Could you take a look at my elbow? And they did an X-ray, and they could see, several pieces of bone floating around inside there. So it was a simple go in, clean it up, take them out, and just rest. So nothing major, but unfortunately it had to be done.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up on that. I just want to know what you think that you can achieve by the end of 2016 with a win here. How many times do you want to fight, and where do you want to be by the end of 2016?
Yeah, well, obviously, my first goal right now is to beat Anderson. He's an incredible fighter, so I've certainly got a tough test on my hands. But beat Anderson, I said to Dana White on the phone the other night, I said, look, listen, when I beat Anderson, I've won 4 out of my last 5, with my only loss coming to Luke Rockhold, who's now the champion. I said, I just want you to know that that's where my head's at. That's what I'm thinking about right now. So, and he said, whoa, I can't say you're going to get a title shot. I said, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, bear me in mind for those conversations. That's what I'm thinking. Of course, I'm focused on Anderson. But after this, yeah, I want to fight for the title. And, we'll see. Obviously, Jacare and Romero just had a fight there, and Yoel won the fight, but it wasn't impressive. It was kind of a boring fight. So I don't know if he's necessarily going to get a fight. I don't know if Wyman's going to get a shot. I think I match him well with Luke. I would love to get that rematch. But, of course, Anderson first.
Cheers, mate. All the best. See you in February.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
And we'll take our final question today from Guilherme Durini with ESPN Brazil.
Hi, good afternoon. We will ask in Portuguese to Anderson. Anderson, muito se falou depois que, quando fosse acabar a sua suspensão, de que você mesmo comentou que queria uma luta no Brasil, que faria uma luta no Brasil. Houve uma negociação de alguma outra luta? Muita gente falou que aconteceria uma revanche com o Vitor. Houve essa negociação? Essa luta te interessaria também, de alguma maneira?
Não houve, né, essa negociação de luta com o Vitor. E, assim, você tem muita falação em volta disso, né? Mas não houve nenhuma negociação. Realmente era para eu lutar no Brasil, não sei com quem, mas era para eu lutar no Brasil. E por essa da situação toda que o Brasil está vivendo economicamente e tal, o UFC resolveu abortar esse Brasil por agora.
10 minutes. Is Luke still asleep? Bless it.
Hello?
He was so cute last night. He loved that show.
Anderson?
Hello. Okay. So the question was, before this fight was announced, a lot of people were saying that your comeback fight was going to be in Brazil, and there was rumors of Vitor Belfort. Did any sort of negotiations come up for that fight? And the answer was no. Yes, his goal was to come back and fight in Brazil. That's what he would have liked to do, but due to the economical struggles that Brazil's going through and various other reasons, that wasn't able to happen. But he's just focused on coming back and fighting in February, and that's what he's focused on now.
Beleza, obrigado, Anderson.
And that concludes our question and answer session. I'll turn the call back to our moderator for any additional or closing remarks.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for today's conference call relating to UFC Fight Night, Silva versus Bisping, February 27th at the O2 Arena in London. This fight is exclusively on Fight Pass, UFC Fight Pass in the United States, and it really shows the commitment and evolution as a platform for our organization. So a lot of exciting things coming on Fight Pass in 2016. And just a reminder that we also have UFC 195 live on pay-per-view this Saturday, 7 p.m. On the West Coast, 10 p.m. on the East Coast, and we look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you to Michael Bisping, thank you to Anderson Silva, and thank you to Ed Soros for translating, and we'll see you on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That does conclude today's conference.
Thank you.
Thank you for your participation.